Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God, back with you with the next video in my Pentiment playthrough. Today we're turning to Pentiment. Here now playing as Magdalene, we have to sleep, so let's go ahead and sleep. Klaus. Magdalene. Dad? Dad? Klaus. Magdalene. Magdalene. Dad. Hang on, I'm coming. Oh my god. Magdalene. Dad. Klaus. Magdalene. Magdalene. What happened? Are you alright? You're bleeding. Klaus. Someone came into the house. They hit me over the head. Magdalene. I'll go get Dr. Stoles. Try not to move, Dad. Klaus. Magdalene. It's not safe. Whoever attacked me. Magdalene. We could say either this wound is too deep for me to take care of my own. We need Dr. Stoles, or I can't carry you across town, Dad. I won't be long, I swear. Please just hold on. Let's go with we'll go with the first one. Klaus. Magdalene. Be careful. Magdalene. I will. I'll be right back. I promise. Paul. Do you know why anyone would want to attack you, Klaus? Klaus. No. Maybe someone didn't like one of the books I sold them. Big York. Are you sure you didn't see a shadow and hit your head on the printing press? Ots. Come on, York. You saw the workshop. Somebody was looking for something. Thomas. A burglar? Been tassing? That's preposterous. Paul. Well, if it wasn't an attack, what was it? Werner. Enough. It was a deliberate blow to the head. Unless any of you wish to debate my diagnosis. No, of course not. No. As I thought. Truthfully, Klaus, I'm surprised the blow didn't kill you. You have a strong skull. It's a grave injury, Magdalene. You'll need to help take care of your father. Magdalene. Obviously, or I will. Whatever I need to do. Werner. Good. Of course, the mural will have to be called off now. Klaus, you absolutely cannot get out of bed. Klaus. No. No, it has to be done. This is too important. Just give me some time to rest. I'll find a way to make it work. Big York. I don't think we need to cancel the entire project. Can we just wait? Paul. Klaus, your health comes first. Anyway, we haven't been able to agree on what the mural should be. In Thomas, indeed. It might be best to abandon the entire idea. Werner, with respect, Father Thomas, you are not on this council. Thomas, yes, yes, just offering an opinion. Magdalene, I can paint the mural. Ots, what? Mags, quit joking around. Big York, well, I know you want to help your dad, but aren't you too young for something this big? Magdalene, we could say either, I've been painting since before I could walk. You don't think I'm good enough? Or, I'm old enough to run the print shop by myself, and Dad trusts me to illustrate the books. Isn't that enough? Or, I'm older than Otts, and he's on the town council, and he doesn't even do anything. Or, what we will say, which is, let's skip this debate. We all know I'm capable of doing this myself. Dad knows I'm capable. Klaus. If you don't trust Magdalene to do the mural, to hell with the lot of you. Thomas. Klaus. Klaus. If you don't trust her, you don't trust me. I'll never do any work for this council again. Ots. All right. I say we let her. Paul, it doesn't look like we have much of a choice. Werner, very well. Big York, all right, Magdalene, you can do it. But you still need to talk to us about what you're doing, all right? Magdalene, we could say, of course, or what we will say, which is fine, but I'm taking Dad's ideas into account. Paul, well, we'll figure it out. Big York, thanks, Magdalene. Rest up, Klaus. Klaus, I'll do my best, York. Werner, Magdalene, just a moment. Magdalene, yes, what is it? Werner, your father is lucid right now, but his injury is severe. His current demeanor is misleading. Magdalene, I know the injury is severe, Werner. I saw all the blood. Or, what are you saying? Werner, Magdalene, there is damage to his brain. Magdalene, Werner, he may have a few weeks, maybe even a few months left, but he's not going to survive. Magdalene, we can say, no, there has to be something you can do, or can't we take him to see a surgeon, or say nothing? Werner, no, he can't be moved in this condition. In fact, he shouldn't move at all. Even if he could, I don't think the finest Italian surgeons would know how to deal with trauma like this. Magdalene, say nothing, or, so, he's just going to die? And there's nothing I can do about it? Werner, you can make him comfortable, and you can enjoy the time you have left. The time will run out before long. Magdalene, meeting at the Rothus, the attack. Dad needs to be able to see the mural in its finished form. But I don't know how much time he has left. Werner said it could be a few months or... God protect him. I'll pick up where Dad left off. He wanted to paint the history of Tassing, from its earliest days to the revolt. I'll start with the earliest part of Tassing's history, the pagan tribes and the Romans. Then I'll move on to the founding of the Abbey and Tassing's saints. After that, I should find a way to represent our recent history. Depicting the revolt is important to Dad. People in Tassing might know some of the town's history, but not all of it. Dad said the library in Kyrsa had those records. He was going to write to the last prioress to see if he had any information. I should write to her now while I'm thinking about it. All right, where to begin? Dad told me the last prioress at Kyrsa knew something about the old history of Tassing. He said she became the abbess of a convent in Bologna, Mother Illuminata? Bologna, one of the largest cities in Italy, Bologna has been the center of the arts for centuries, has been a center. It houses a well-known university, which was home to both Dante and Petrarch. Yes, at Santa Margherita. Santa Margherita, a small town in the Republic of Genoa along the coast of the Ligurian Sea. I should write to her. Magdalene. We could say, Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita, formerly Prioress of Kyrsa Abbey, or Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita, formerly Librarian of Kyrsa Abbey, or Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita. We'll pick the first one. My name is Magdalene Druckern. I do not believe we ever met, as I was very young when you left Kyrsa. Or, I am the daughter of Klaus Drucker, Magdalene. We are printers from Tassing. We'll pick the first. You were acquainted with my father. He bought many books from the library before that terrible fire consumed the place. I am writing because my father and I are creating a mural in the Tassing Rothus. It's going to tell you the history of our community and of Kyrsa as well. We have only legends and folklore, since of course all of Kyrsa's books were destroyed in the fire. I was hoping you could tell us something about the early history of the town when the Romans were here. If you know anything about the early history of the abbey itself, we would also be glad to hear of it. We would appreciate any help you could give us, and we hope you are well. We could answer to that and say, my father always spoke highly of you, especially how you cared for the sisters after the fire. My father always spoke highly of you, especially how you cared for the library and its books, or my father always spoke highly of your piety and intellect. It would, or if you would not mind a personal question, was it hard to return to Italy after being here for so many years? We'll say the first one. We could say keep well, or God bless you, or thank you again. Magdalene. If I want to finish the mural before Christmas, I should start planning tomorrow. I should head to bed and get as much rest as I can. Beating at the Rathas. Go to sleep. It's late. I should get some sleep or some rest soon. We will go to sleep. Reichspostman. Ah, Mistress Druckren, I have a few letters here addressed to you. Take care now. Magdalene, thank you, sir. Mother Illuminata wrote back to me. I hope her response helps me paint the mural. Illuminata. Mistress Druckren, thank you for your letter. I hope this reply finds you and your father in good health. I remember you both, as your father would carry you between the rows of our library in its final years. I also remember your late mother and brother, God keep their souls. While we did have some books that discussed Tassing's past, it's likely they were as mythological as what your neighbors believe. That said, I remember one of the peasants, Tillman Krautzer, read about the history of the town. I know he died during the revolt, but perhaps his family knows some of what he learned. I should also say that it's not true that all of Kirsaw's books were destroyed by the fire. Andreas Miller managed to save some from the flames, God rest his soul. In the aftermath of that terrible night, cataloging and preserving the surviving books was not at the top of any of our minds. Even so, this topic has stirred a memory within me. Several years before the fire, there was a death at Kirsaw, the murder of Baron Rothwigel. He had mentioned something about finding a copy of Historia Tassae. Historia Tassae, an account of the early history of Tassing. Kirsaw's previous abbot, Father Matthias, had had a copy. Baron Rothwigel brought another to the abbey as a gift. A comprehensive chronicle of your home. I had forgotten about it until now, because the murder dominated all of our thoughts in the days and weeks that followed. It troubles me now because I recall that the late Father Matthias was also reading a copy of Historia Tassae shortly before he died. We never accounted for either book's whereabouts. They may have been hidden somewhere in the library and went up with everything else. Perhaps Lucky Steiner took it from the Baron after the murder. Though given the stonemason's motive, it seems unlikely. Then again, Only God knows what he did and why he did it. Miklaus Haberle, the Baron's manservant, believed it may have been stolen by the town thief, Martin Bauer. If Martin is still alive, I would ask him if he knows where the book is. Hopeful he didn't trade it for a mug of beer on his way out of Tassing. If the man has passed from this world, perhaps his family knows where the book wound up. As for the history of the abbey, I fear that was also lost in the blaze. However, as sacristan, appointed official in a monastery, responsible for maintaining the sacristy, where vestments and objects used in ceremonies are kept. The sacristan is also often the treasurer. Prior Matthew learned a great deal about the subject. I have not kept in contact with him, but I know that he is now Archdeacon of Sion. Sion, once a free imperial city of the Holy Roman Empire, Sion became the capital of Valais when the canton joined the Swiss Confederacy following the Swabian War in 1499. He is no longer a Benedictine, but uses his family name, Faucigny Sa. If you write to him soon, your letter may reach him before the snow covers Valais. Valais, a canton in the Swiss Alps, Valais became an associate member of the Swiss Confederation in 1529. Please convey my best wishes to your father. He was a good friend to the abbey in its better years. Despite the violence that occurred, I hold no ill will toward anyone from Tassing. I pray that you have seen better days since that night, and that God forgives the many errors we made. God bless you as well, Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margareta. Magdalene. Oh, Esther wrote to me as well. Esther. My dear Magda, my parents were glad to hear from your father. Please tell him they wish to hear from him soon. Speaking of printing, your ink was well received indeed. I've made several prints with it. They look lovely on the wall. Elisha has taken to making his own ink from scraps he found around the house after he saw yours. Mother was furious when he spent several pfennigs trying to find lapis at the market. Lapis. She set him scrubbing the floors for it. Took him 3 days. I am glad you're keeping busy, even though it keeps you from visiting. Father says we'll have room whenever you decide to make an appearance. And if you do take over the shop in Tassing, you'll have to make visits to Prague for supplies. Who knows? Maybe you'll meet someone here. I've made a good match, too. There's a young man at the synagogue, Simond, caught my eye. His father is a doctor, and his brothers have all gone to university as well. I'd quite like to marry him. Anyway, I hope this Otts fellow and his mother don't give you too much trouble. You really ought to give men a chance, Magdalene. They can be quite sweet. At least, the ones in the city here are. Please keep us abreast of your father's mural. We'll have to come to see when it is finished. Blessings, Esther. I'll have to write Esther back tonight. I should head home and check on Dad. Magdalene. Hey, Dad. How are you feeling? Klaus. Ah, Magdalene. Sitting upright is still a struggle, I'm afraid. The dizziness makes my stomach turn, so I'd rather not eat at the moment. Magdalene. Are you sure? I can bring up something light, like milk or broth. Klaus, no, no. I can't stomach anything just yet. But tell me, where are you off to? Magdalene, I need to get started on the first part of the mural today. The old history. Mother Illuminata didn't know much about Tassing's early history, but she did give me a few places to start. I'm going to ask Black Till if his grandfather told him any stories. Illuminata said he used to read about the Romans. Klaus, Mother Illuminata, Magdalene. Magdalene, we could say, ugh, fine, Mother Illuminata, or, right, yes, Mother Illuminata. Klaus, young Kreutzer has mentioned those tales from time to time, yes. He comes by to borrow books now and then. Usually, when he's found something interesting, old Rune out in the fields. You might ask him about that. Il Peter's always harumphed about how no one's paid any attention to the old ways anymore, too. I'm sure he'll have some stories to tell about old Tassing. You might stop to talk to him. Magdalene, we could say either, but he's so mean, or I can hardly understand him these days, but it's worth asking, or I didn't think of that. Thanks, Dad. Klaus, of course, Magda. It's nice to feel useful, even if I am stuck here in bed. Magdalene, nonsense. I'm just glad you're awake. Klaus, you might talk to Smokey, too. The old charcoal burner seems to know more about what's in the woods than anyone else. That, and he's a known gossip. We could say, isn't he a bit eccentric? Or, he's always been kind to me when I chat with him. I'm certain he'll know something about the ruins. Klaus, you may hear something worth your while at any rate. Magdalene, I'll go talk to him. What about the ruins or the mines? I can't just use books and stories alone. I want to explore whatever is left over from the Romans and before. The salt mine and Roman ruins are the oldest parts of Tassing, so it only makes sense to see what they left behind. Klaus, you take after your mother. She was always thorough in her research. Magdalene, you always said that's what good artists do, Dad. Klaus, be careful, all right? I know the twins mess around near the salt mine, but I don't want you getting hurt. I don't know why Jorg doesn't keep them in line. Always making trouble, those two. Magdalene, we could say, don't be worried about me, Dad. I'll be careful. Or, they don't have brains enough to keep out of trouble. I do. Or, that's what happens when you name your kids after pagan gods instead of saints, I guess. We will go with the third. Klaus, don't start that, Magdalene, or I might expect you to join the poor Clares, haha. Don't forget your other chores while you're running around town, all right? We still have a household to run. Magdalene, don't worry, I'll get everything done, or I'll get to them, Dad, or sigh frustratedly. We will say, don't worry, I'll get everything done. Klaus, that's my girl. Magdalene, I'd better get going if I want to do all of that today. I'll see you later, Dad. Klaus, good luck, Magdalene. So we have the leads. We can ask Black Till about the Romans, Ill Peter about Tassing, and Smoky about the woods. So those are the leads we're working with. We also have options to talk to. I believe there was Brother Matthew, Martin Bauer's family. And I'm not sure. There may have been one other person Sister Luminata mentioned. So that's where we're at there. There's odds. Let's ask Martin Bauer's family first. We'll talk to Brigitta. Brigitta, Magdalene, how are you keeping? Magdalene, we could say, fine enough, given the circumstances, or I'm eager to continue work on the mural. I have so much to do before Christmas. Brigitta, I'm certain it will be the pride of Tassing when you're through. You've always had your mother's talent for art. And how is your dad? Magdalene, you could say, his mind is fading. I pray for him every night. Or, you're one of the only people who've asked how I'm doing before asking about my dad. Brigitta, I know how it is to be the sole caregiver. Yourself disappears behind the needs of the person you're looking after. I worry about you, carrying that weight alone. Caring for someone can be an arduous task, even if you love them. I want to pause for a second, and I realize now that that kind of had like a little bit stranger of a connotation, because Magdalene could have said, like, why aren't you asking about Klaus first? Now I understand that, but it wasn't clear the first time. It's all right if it's you. It's also all right if you find it challenging. The Lord sees your labors for your dad and admires them. But I believe God will pull your dad through. Whatever the doctor says, we need him. Magdalene, we could say, I don't know what I'll do if he dies. I feel crazy even thinking about it. Or, God willing, you are right. I am at his mercy. Brigitta, God willing, amen. Have you thought about what you'll do if your dad doesn't come through this? Magdalene, Dad would want me to keep up the printing press. Or, I truly don't know. Or, I can't think that far ahead right now. Brigitta, wouldn't that be a sight? Are you sure you could handle it? It's a lot to manage on your own. But you're a good girl, Magda. There are any number of families in Tassing who'd be happy to take you. You have someone in mind, don't you? Magdalene. We could either say, you must mean Arts, or I promise you I do not. Brigitta, such a modest girl. Your dad raised you right. I mean Otts, of course. He's about as subtle as his father, God rest Otto's soul. I miss him. Magdalene, I wish I'd got to meet him properly, I mean. Brigitta, he made an impression, that's for certain. Oh, the girls around town knew better than to moon after him, though that didn't stop some of us. He was Eva's from the start, as Otts appears to be yours, eh? But if nothing ever comes of that, know that you're always welcome in my family, Magda. Kraft's a nice boy, if a bit immature, but he's still growing. Magdalene, are you trying to set me up with your son? Brigitta, can you blame a mother for trying? You're a good, respectable girl, Magda. Any family would be lucky to have you as a daughter. Any family would be lucky to have as a daughter. Magdalene, you could say, I guess I'll consider it, or I don't mean to be rude, but I'd prefer decide in my own time, or I'm not sure we're a good match. I'll the middle one. Brigitta, all right, I'll let it be. You know, not every marriage may start off on solid footing, but if you pray and work and trust in the Lord, you can find it in time. Believe me. Magdalene, if it's not working out, How can you be sure a couple belongs together? Or you're not making the prospect sound very enticing, or maybe I'll never get married. Brigitte, God knows He brings people together for a purpose. We don't need to understand it, only to have faith in Providence. In any case, I should get back to the chores. Remember what I said. Whatever happens, you're always welcome in my home. Magdalene. And that's where we'll go ahead and end the video there for this week. And so, with that, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Like to be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.